please join me in welcoming my favorite governor and soon-to-be ambassador, my dad, Mike Huckabee.
Sarah, thank you so very much. It means the world to me, the kind things that you've said. And she's always saying that she wants to be a better governor. And I tell people all the time, from me, it's a pretty low bar. I think she's already cleared it and mastered it and is doing quite amazingly. And I'm so very proud of the job that she's doing as the 47th governor of the state of Arkansas. And I have no doubt but that it only gets better and better and better. Congratulations to Warren Stevens. I'm absolutely giddy with excitement that President Trump has selected Warren to be the ambassador to the Court of St. James and represent not just the U.S., but Arkansas in a way that is just remarkable. And I can't imagine anyone better suited or qualified for the position. And it's just an extraordinary thing to know that Warren Stevens will take all of this extraordinary business acumen that he has shown us through the years and bring it to the service of our country in a way that I think will be simply astounding. I've known Warren as a person who really doesn't make a lot of noise about himself. I think it's one of his greatest qualities, his humility, and he truly has it. I think of the things that I came to know that he was doing, many things behind the scenes, things for which he did not ask for public attention, but investments in the people of Arkansas, in their health, in their recreation, in their hospitality, in their investments and in the businesses of the state. But he very effectively continued to have an extraordinary influence. And he and Harriet have been benefactors of so many remarkable things that have improved the quality of life for every person in Arkansas, but never in a way that brought attention to himself, but that always brought attention to something that needed to be done and was done with a level of excellence. But quite frankly, nobody else had the money to do. Let's just be honest. But thank God he did. And that he did it not because he had to, but because he chose to. And I've always found that to be the most remarkable thing as I've watched the efforts that the Stevens family, the entire family, have given to this wonderful state. There were things that he could have done at a level that would have been not only acceptable, but exceptional. And then you would watch as Warren would do something that went beyond the exceptional to the mind-boggling. And you realize that he didn't do it because someone pressured him to do the minimum or even the maximum, but to do that which brought a level of quality. Now, I don't play golf, never have. I honestly wouldn't know a good golf course from a goat farm. I probably wouldn't know the difference. But I remember when my friend Kevin Crass took me out to Alotian and just walked me around. I was no threat to the course because I was never going to play it. But just looking at it and realizing that what Warren had created there was not something that was necessary for somehow Central Arkansas to have something of extraordinary value, but he brought something that was so world-class that it wouldn't matter who ever walked onto that golf course or went into that facility that wouldn't say, this is as nice or perhaps nicer than any place that I've ever been. And that's the kind of commitment that I'm convinced he's going to bring to the ambassadorship of the UK. And Warren, I'm just thrilled for you and for our country. And I hope that maybe you'll let another ambassador from a smaller place come and visit you sometime when we're just wanting to get away from the rockets and the bombs and the missiles. And I've told so many of my friends, they say, we're going to come see you in Israel. I said, please do. It's a magnificent country. I've been going since literally July of 1973. But I have one request for those of you who are planning to come see me in Israel. Please bring Petit Jean bacon when you come. It's hard to get there. It really, really is. And as the first ever evangelical Christian to be named ambassador to Israel, there will be some things that I will not be able to completely let go of with my Arkansas roots. I want to say thanks to Jay Cheshire for, I don't know, having the courage to invite me. Or maybe nobody else was available, I don't know. But I'm honored to get to be here today and share just a few thoughts with you. The privilege of being named by the President to go to a place that I have a deep love for is something I can't really fully describe. It all started for me at the age of 17. I first went to Israel in July of 1973, a month away from my 18th birthday. Now you got to understand, I did not grow up with the kind of capacity where I could have traveled anywhere, certainly not the Middle East. For my family, going to Texarkana from Hope was a really big deal because there was an escalator at the Belt Jones store. We didn't have anything like that in Hope, and I'd just get on the escalator and ride up and right back down. It was like a trip to Six Flags for my friends. They thought, "Where'd you go this summer?" "We went to Six Flags." "We went to Disney." I went to Belt Jones and rode the elevator. I had a friend who became my college roommate. He came from a family of, let's just say, much better means than I came from, and he wanted to take a senior trip after high school graduation and take a trip to the Middle East. And his father said, "Son, I'm not going to let you go over there by yourself." But his father, not knowing me really that well, but thinking he did, said, "But if you take Mike Huckabee with you, I'll pay his way and you boys can go." That's how I first got to go to the Middle East. We went all over the place. I look back and I'm thinking, this was an insane thing. We went to Syria, we went to Lebanon, we went to Jordan, we went to Greece, we went to the Isle of Crete. We went all over the place. But one of the places we went was Israel. And I'll never forget it, because here's a place I'd never been in my life, but it was the only place in the world I've ever been where I felt at home in a place that I'd never been to before. And that magnetism grew. And in 1981, I started taking groups of people. And over the course of the last 52 years, I probably escorted tens of thousands of people to Israel to let them see this remarkable land that some just say is, well, a Bible land. But it's more than that. It's a remarkable nation that for 3,500 years has been home to the Jewish people. It's a place where Abraham handed the title deed to his sons and told, "This is your land." It's a place that has been often the most bitterly fought over piece of real estate in the entire world. And it's a tiny sliver of real estate the size of New Jersey. Its landmass is 1/644th of the landmass that is controlled by Muslim nations, which makes many of us scratch our heads when we hear that the solution that people have for the Middle East is that Israel, with its tiny little real estate imprint, should give up land so that those with much more could take a little bit of theirs. It's going to be a challenging environment, no question about that. But I've seen something happen in this country over the past 52 years in over 100 visits there that just brings to life for me that biblical truth of the prophets when they said that the dry bones will live again and the desert will bloom. Places that I first went to in the 70s and in the 80s that were nothing but desolation, barrenness, rock and dust, nothing really to look at, nothing to get all that excited about, are now lush with vegetation as this tiny little country is exporting fruits and vegetables all over the world. It reminds me of the story where a rabbi went to see one of his farmers in the synagogue. The farmer had a little plot of land out in the Negev, which was a pretty desolate area. And after 5 years of his farming, when the rabbi came out to see him, he noticed that things were growing. It was green. It was producing some magnificent fruits and vegetables. And the rabbi said to the farmer, "Oh, my son, what you and God have done with this place and this land." And the farmer wiped the sweat from his brow and said, "Yeah, Rabbi, well, you should have seen it when God had it all by himself." And it's a great reminder that people have had to make extraordinary sacrifices to create what is now one of the most prosperous places per capita in the world, with more Nobel Science Prize winners than any country on earth. And the fact that this little guy from Hope, Arkansas, that went there as a wild-eyed 17-year-old kid, is going to get to go and serve my country and my president as the ambassador, it's just a little overwhelming. And one of the challenges will certainly be leaving behind the 7 magnificent grandchildren that our children have given to us. You know, I won't be there maybe by phone or FaceTime to talk to my daughter when she calls with those ever so sparse moments of asking for advice. But I tell people all the time when they ask, "Are you helping in your daughter's administration?" I say, "Absolutely. Why, she named me senior advisor." "Well, that sounds impressive. Exactly what do you do?" I say, "Well, here's what that means. I'm a senior adult now. I babysit her kids a lot, and I advise them. It's time for you guys to go to bed. Senior advisor, that's the role that I currently have. I will miss that, but I will also go with an extraordinary joy of being able to be witness to a level of history in a part of the world where history is made every single day." I want to say, serving as governor, as Sarah said, really is the best job in the world, and I'm so proud of her for the job she's doing. Look, I know I'm about as objective about my daughter being governor as the New York Times is about Donald Trump, okay? I get it. But when I see what she's doing in the field of education, and it's not just school choice, which is, to me, a great gift to parents, and it's not just the extraordinary, I mean, over-the-top teacher pay raise that the legislature was willing to make happen for school teachers in this state. But it's the things that, frankly, have not gotten as much attention that should. And that is putting a focus on reading capacity for the youngest kids so that by the 4th grade, they're not far behind, they're far ahead. That's how you turn the economy of a state on its head and make it something significant. So yes, I am very proud of her and what she's getting done. I'm proud to be a part of a state that always has vision for what could be rather than simply looking at what has been. And this is a magnificent place with its rich culture, extraordinary landscape, that within an hour and a half to 2 hours of Little Rock, one can see virtually every kind of topography, every kind of landscape that a person could possibly want to experience, from the prairies to the mountains to the hardwood forest to the pine thickets. It really is a place that we proudly call home. It's a place that, well, some people in this state, it took a while to get used to me. When I first ran for public office back in the early 90s, I'd go to some places where things weren't always just lovely. I'll give an example. I'm at a chamber banquet, a big one. You guys have been very kind. You even gave me a nice ovation before I even spoke, which was really a bit over the top. I thought you were getting up to leave, but thank you for not. But I can remember early in my political life going to a chamber event over in East Arkansas. I won't tell you the name of the town, but when I got there, I drove up, got in the parking lot, and wanted to make sure I was at the right place. So as I was walking into the building, this elderly gentleman was coming out of the building, and just in part to make some small talk, and also to make sure I was at the right place, I said, excuse me, but is this where the chamber is meeting today? He barely looked up, he just kept walking, but he said, yeah, it is, but you sure picked a bad day to visit. The lieutenant governor's talking today. Later on, when I was running for re-election as lieutenant governor, I was in Mountain View at the Folk Festival, which is one of the greatest events in this state. Absolutely one, if you haven't been, you gotta go. And if you have been, you probably will keep going back, because it's just so real. And the authenticity of that event is just magnetic. And I was up there on a beautiful spring April day, and I was visiting around Stone County Courthouse grounds and shaking hands and asking for votes because I was running for re-election to be lieutenant governor. And I was getting pretty good response. I was actually kind of pleased that in Stone County, a Republican wasn't being run out of town. And I saw this gentleman, he was leaning up against a pickup truck over just from the courthouse square. I went over there, put out my hand, and said, good morning, sir. I'm Mike Huckabee, and I sure hope I'm gonna get your vote for lieutenant governor. He looked me up and down. He said, well, partner, you gonna get my vote all right, because that guy we got down there now, he ain't worth a darn. I thought he was kidding at first, because I thought, yeah, that's, then I realized, the guy's not kidding. What do you say? Well, I know what I said. Well, sir, I appreciate that. I do appreciate your vote. And I'm going to tell you something. You're right about that guy we got down there now. He ain't worth a darn. Over the years, I will tell you, things certainly got better. But even through all of these years, I consider the honor of being asked to serve as an ambassador for this country to be an extraordinary privilege. People said, well, did you ask the president for it? No, I didn't. I had not talked to him about it. I'm sitting at my desk one day minding my own business. And all of a sudden the phone rings, and I never answer a call if it's a phone number I don't recognize. I'm old enough, I don't have to. So I didn't. But I looked at that number and I said, something tells me answer this call. Normally I wouldn't have, but this time I just thought I needed to. I answered it. And the voice on the other end, Mike, this is Donald Trump. I want you to be ambassador to Israel. And I don't know if I picked my phone or myself up off the floor first, but I realized that of anything that the president would have asked me to do, this is the only thing for which I would have that Isaiah moment and say, here am I, Lord, send me. I had no interest in babysitting a bureaucracy or oiling the machinery of somebody's bloated government agency. I did enough of that as a governor. But the one thing that he could have asked was that which he did ask. And I believe with all my heart, it's an extraordinary and an incredible privilege and honor. Over the years, going to Israel as many times as I have, I will simply tell you that it is not for me a political issue as much as it is a spiritual issue. And I saw the spiritual nature of it just a few weeks after October 7th of 2023, when Hamas had invaded from Gaza, went in and savagely slaughtered Jewish civilians who thought that they were living peacefully just a few hundred yards from Gaza. And the extraordinary level of indecency that was inflicted upon those Jewish people, elderly people, women, violently raped in front of their families, babies were beheaded, burned in ovens in front of their mothers. The horrific crimes against any sense of civilized behavior was such that it was just hard to even listen to the stories of those who had experienced it. And I realized when I was trying to even explain, as people said, what was it like when you talked to people who went through that, the hostage families and some of the hostages who had been released. And the level of anti-Semitism that we have seen even here in our own country that is absolutely disgusting. that on some of our most prestigious college campuses, college students are chanting from the river to the sea without even a clue what they're even asking for, not even knowing what river, what sea, or who lies between the river and the sea, and what would actually happen if there was what they chanted to come to fruition. It would mean the annihilation and the slaughter of 15 million Jewish people. And I realize that we're not talking about an issue that is geopolitical. It is not socioeconomic. What we're looking at is an issue between good and evil. It's really that simple. It's light versus darkness. It's whether or not we believe that as civilized people, that we deal with our conflicts only at last resort militarily, but we seek to bring some sense of human decency and respect for other human life. What I pray that God will allow me to do is to take that understanding that the greatest responsibility as a human being we have is to treat other people simply like we would wish to be treated. That really is, as we call it, the golden rule, but it is a rule that must prevail in dealing with the great conflicts of this planet, because they'll never be resolved by the level of wholesale violence, mutilation of human bodies, and the humiliation of human beings, the likes of which we saw October the 7th. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray that there will be peace. Not a peace simply guarded by guns, but a peace that will be guarded by God. And I hope that I will see many of you next year in Jerusalem. And don't forget, bring the bacon. Thank you very, very much.